29 male was sitting on my living room sofa on a random Tuesday evening, nursing a cold drink and scrolling through social media. My fiancée, 27 female, was in the bedroom. We had been engaged for 8 months, and the wedding was roughly 90 days away. The venue was booked, the deposits were supposedly paid, and the invitations were sitting in a box near the front door, ready for stamps. We had been together for 3 years in total. Lately, she had been spending a lot of time in certain online echo chambers, consuming content that treated relationships like constant power struggles. I had noticed a major shift in her tone over the last few months. There was this sudden sharpness to everything she said. She had developed a constant need to assert dominance over minor decisions, from what brand of coffee we bought to whose family we visited on holidays. I chalked it up to wedding stress. That was my first mistake. I refreshed my feed, and at the very top was a new post from her. It was a picture of me from earlier that day, taken without my knowledge while I was assembling a new dresser she had demanded we buy. I was sweating, looking frustrated, holding a screwdriver. I had just spent the previous weekend wiring a new smart home security system to keep an eye on our dog while we were at work, and I was already exhausted. The caption on her post read, "Can't wait to train my husband." This was followed by 3 crying laughing emojis and a dog on a leash emoji. I stared at the screen. The disrespect just radiated off the digital text. It wasn't a joke. It was a statement of intent to her followers. It was a public declaration that she viewed me as an unruly pet she needed to break. Several of her friends had already commented. Her future maid of honor wrote, "Get the spray bottle ready." My fiancé replied to her, "Oh, I've got the shock collar on standby." I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel confused. I felt a sudden, absolute clarity. The veil dropped. This was exactly who she was, and this was exactly how she saw me. I tapped the comment box on her post. I typed, "Good luck with that." I hit send. Then I replied to my own comment. "The engagement is off. We are done." I didn't lock my phone. I just placed it face up on the coffee table and waited in the quiet living room. 10 seconds passed. 20. Then, I heard a sharp gasp from the bedroom. Footsteps pounded down the hallway. She burst into the living room, her face pale, phone clutched in her hand. "What on earth is this?" she demanded, her voice shrill. "Are you out of your mind? Delete that comment right now." "No," I said evenly. "I think it clarifies things perfectly." She started frantically tapping her screen. I watched the live feed on my own phone. The post vanished. Her delete button couldn't work fast enough, but the damage was already done. I had taken screenshots the second I saw it. "It was a joke," she stammered, realizing my calm demeanor meant serious trouble. "It's a social media trend. You're overreacting and embarrassing me in front of my friends." "You embarrassed yourself," I replied. "And you embarrassed me. But mostly, you just showed me what this marriage is actually going to be. A constant, exhausting battle for basic respect. I'm not doing it. The wedding is canceled." She crossed her arms, shifting instantly from panicked to deeply defensive. Her entitlement flared up immediately. "You can't cancel the wedding. My family has already bought their flights. The venue is non-refundable. You're throwing a tantrum over an emoji. Grow up." "I am grown up," I said. "Which is why I'm making a mature decision not to legally bind myself to someone who thinks I need to be trained. Pack a bag. You need to leave." "I'm not going anywhere," she snapped, lifting her chin. "This is my house too. My name is on the deed," I reminded her. "I had purchased the house 2 years before we even met. You pay 0 rent. You contribute to the groceries. That's it." "I have established residency," she said with a smug, defiant look. "You can't legally kick me out tonight. I know my rights." She turned around, walked back to the bedroom, and slammed the door. I sat alone in the living room. The reality of the situation was settling in. She was right about one thing. Legally, in our state, she was a month-to-month tenant at will, even without a formal lease. I couldn't just throw her on the street without a formal 30-day notice to quit. But I wasn't going to let her dictate the terms of my life anymore. The next morning, the house was a war zone of silence. I woke up on the guest room bed. My phone had 42 missed calls. Most were from my fiancé, who had apparently texted me from the other room all night. The rest were from my future mother-in-law. I walked into the kitchen and grabbed a coffee. My fiancé walked in a moment later, completely ignoring the tension, and poured herself a cup. "My mother expects a call," she said, staring out the kitchen window. "She thinks you've lost your mind. I told her you were having a pre-wedding breakdown. If you apologize today, we can just pretend this didn't happen." "There's no wedding," I said. "I am drafting a formal 30-day notice to quit. I will tape it to the bedroom door. You have a month to find a new place." She finally looked at me, her eyes narrowing. "You're seriously blowing up our entire lives over a joke?" "It wasn't a joke," I said. My phone rang right on cue. It was my future mother-in-law. I answered it, put it on speaker, and set it on the kitchen island. "What is wrong with you?" My future mother-in-law barked immediately. "My daughter has been crying all night. She says you are trying to cancel the wedding because you're too cheap to pay the final vendor installments." I frowned, looking at my fiancé. She suddenly looked incredibly tense. "Too cheap?" I asked the phone. "The wedding is funded through our joint wedding account. We each put in $20,000. The vendors are paid from that." My future mother-in-law scoffed loudly. "No, they aren't. The caterer called me yesterday, asking where the second deposit was. My daughter said you refused to put your half of the money in the account, and now everything is bouncing. You are ruining her big day." My fiancé lunged for the phone to end the call, but I grabbed it first and stepped back. "I deposited $20,000 6 months ago," I said into the phone. I looked dead at my fiancé. "Let me call you back." I ended the call. The silence in the kitchen was heavy. "Why is the caterer calling your mother about bounce checks?" I asked. My fiancé backed up against the counter, her eyes darting around the room. "My mom doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just confused. The caterer made a clerical error." "Open the joint banking app," I demanded. "Right now." "No," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "It's my private phone. It's a joint account." I pulled out my own phone. I rarely checked that specific account. She had volunteered to handle all the vendor payments, insisting she wanted to manage the wedding budget. And the logistics. I had simply transferred my $20,000 6 months ago and let her handle it. I logged in. The balance was exactly $114.22. There should have been at least $18,000 left after the initial venue deposits we made months ago. I pulled up the transaction history. There were no recent payments to the florist. No payments to the caterer. No payments to the photographer. Instead, there were massive, recurring transfers to a high-interest credit card account in her name. She had been draining the wedding fund for the last 4 months. "Where is the money?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. "I had some debt," she cried out, her defensive wall crumbling into manipulative tears. "Before we met, it was accumulating insane interest. I was going to pay the joint account back before the final vendor bills were due next month. I was trying to secure our financial future by getting out of debt. I just needed a little more time. You took $20,000 of my money to pay off your secret debt," I stated, the puzzle pieces slamming into place. The training post wasn't just arrogance. It was absolute contempt. She viewed me as a resource. A mark. Someone to be manipulated and controlled while she siphoned my money to clean up her own messes. She was desperate to keep the engagement intact because if we broke up, she would be completely exposed. "It's not stealing," she yelled, her tears drying up instantly as the entitlement rushed back in full force. "We are getting married. What's yours is mine." I just expedited the process because the interest rates were suffocating me. "You're going to be my husband. It's your job to take care of me and my debts." "I am not your husband," I said. "And I never will be." I walked to my home office, locked the door, and immediately called my bank to freeze the joint account and document the unauthorized transfers. Then I called a lawyer. The lawyer laid out the reality. Because it was a joint account, proving criminal theft would be a high hurdle, as joint owners technically have equal right to the funds. However, I had absolute grounds for a civil lawsuit for conversion and unjust enrichment, especially since the funds were earmarked specifically for wedding expenses. Furthermore, my state laws regarding engagement rings are very clear. Under California Civil Code Section 1590, an engagement ring is a conditional gift. If the condition of marriage does not occur, the ring must be returned to the giver, regardless of who broke off the engagement. I drafted a text to my fiancé. I want the engagement ring back by 5 p.m. today. I am also filing a civil suit for the $20,000 you misappropriated from the wedding fund. You have 30 days to vacate my property. I unlocked the office door and walked out into the hallway. She was standing there, reading the text. Her face was twisted into a mask of pure rage. "You want to play hardball?" she hissed. "You're going to sue me? Over money we were going to share anyway? You are an absolute monster."
"Ring. Now,"
I said. She took a step back, clutching her left hand to her chest.
"No."
"It's mine. You gave it to me. It's a conditional gift. The condition wasn't met. Hand it over." "Make me," she sneered. Then, she did something I will never forget. She reached up with her right hand and dragged her own fingernails violently down her left forearm, leaving 4 deep, bleeding scratches. She looked at me, a terrifyingly calm smile spreading across her face. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "Hello," she said into the phone, her voice instantly transforming into a panicked, breathless sob. "Please help me. My fiancé, he's gone crazy. He's canceling the wedding and he just attacked me. He scratched my arm. He's threatening to throw me out on the street. Please send someone. I'm terrified." She hung up the phone and looked at me triumphantly. "When the police get here," she whispered, her eyes wide and malicious, "they're going to see my arm. They're going to arrest you for domestic battery. I'm going to file for a temporary restraining order. A judge will grant me exclusive use of this house. You'll be the one out on the street. And I will keep the ring." She had played her trump card. It was a vicious, calculated, and entirely illegal dirty trick.
She expected me to panic.
She expected me to beg her to call them back, to promise her anything, the money, the house, the wedding, just to keep myself out of a jail cell. I didn't panic. I didn't beg. I just looked up at the ceiling corner of the hallway. "You really should have paid attention when I was wiring the new smart home security system last weekend," I said calmly. Her eyes darted upward. Tucked discreetly into the corner molding was a small, black dome camera. It was part of an indoor system I had set up to monitor a dog. It recorded 24/7, high-definition video with crisp audio. The color drained from her face completely. "The camera," I continued, enjoying the absolute horror washing over her features, "records directly to a secure cloud server. It just captured you scratching your own arm. It captured you admitting to falsely accusing me. It captured your entire extortion attempt." She lunged for my phone. I stepped aside effortlessly. She ran toward the hallway camera, jumping up to try and pull it down. It was screwed directly into the drywall anchor. She couldn't budge it. She was frantic, clawing at the plastic casing. Blue and red lights flashed through the living room windows. The police had arrived. I walked to the front door and opened it. 2 officers were standing on the porch, hands resting near their belts, faces stern. "Sir, step outside please," the older officer commanded. I complied, keeping my hands visible. "Officers, my ex-fiancée called you. She is going to claim I assaulted her. She has scratches on her left arm. Before you speak to her, I need you to watch this video." I handed my phone to the officer. I had already pulled up the Cloud app. The video was queued up. The audio was crystal clear. "Make me the sound of nails tearing skin. When the police get here, they're going to see my arm. They're going to arrest you." The 2 officers watched it twice. Their expressions shifted from stern suspicion to hard, professional anger. They handed my phone back to me. "Stay right here," the officer said. They walked inside. I heard her start her performance immediately. The tears, the sobbing, the wild accusations about how I threw her against the wall. I heard the officer stop her mid-sentence. "Ma'am, we have just viewed high-definition footage of you inflicting those injuries on yourself and detailing your plan to falsely accuse this man of a crime. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." The scream she let out was authentic this time. I walked inside as they were putting her in handcuffs. Under California Penal Code Section 148.5, filing a false police report is a misdemeanor. But doing so in an attempt to frame someone for domestic violence takes it to a whole new level of legal jeopardy. She was sobbing uncontrollably, begging them to stop, saying it was just a misunderstanding. "The ring," I said to the officer, pointing at her left hand. "It is my property under conditional gift laws, and she is wearing it." The officer instructed her to take it off. She was weeping hysterically, the reality of her shattered life finally crashing down on her. She struggled to pull the $12,000 diamond off her finger with her hands cuffed behind her back, so the officer had to assist, eventually dropping it onto the kitchen counter. I picked it up and put it in my pocket. Because she was arrested for a crime of deceit and attempted harm against me in my own home, I requested an emergency protective order. Given the undeniable video evidence of her trying to frame me, the police facilitated the EPO on the spot. The protective order legally barred her from returning to my property. The 30-day notice wasn't even necessary anymore. She wasn't just evicted. She was completely banished from my life in the span of 20 minutes. Over the next few weeks, the revenge played out legally, methodically, and absolutely perfectly. Her mother had to drive up to collect her belongings, refusing to look me in the eye as she packed boxes under the strict supervision of a civil standby officer. I filed the civil lawsuit for the stolen $20,000. During the discovery phase, her lawyers realized they had absolutely no defense. The money trail from the joint account directly to her personal credit card was undeniable. To avoid a brutal public trial that would completely destroy whatever was left of her reputation, she agreed to a settlement. She had to take out a massive, high-interest personal loan just to pay me back every single cent she took. Her life completely collapsed. She was forced to move back into her childhood bedroom with her mother. She now had her original credit card debt, the new personal loan debt she had to take out to pay me back, a misdemeanor on her criminal record, and the crushing humiliation of her entire social circle finding out exactly why the wedding was abruptly canceled. The caterer and the venue didn't keep quiet about the bounce checks either. I took the $20,000 she paid back, sold the engagement ring for $8,000, and booked a 3-week solo vacation to Japan. I drank incredible whiskey, ate world-class sushi, and breathed the easiest I had in years. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. But sometimes you have to hit the delete button on the entire relationship and let the justice system haul the garbage away for you. If you want to learn how to expertly dodge an expensive bullet and turn a toxic ex into a massive return on investment, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it.